in the world of silver, there is really no better person that I can think of for you to talk to than David Morgan. David Morgan is a well-recognized, and I say that even though you're not going to hear his name too frequently in some of the mainstream media, but people in the know, high net worth investors, hedge funds, depositories, bullion dealers, when they want to find out what is going on in the silver market, they frequently will turn to David Morgan. He's the publisher of the Morgan Report on Precious Metals, author of Get the Skinny on Silver Investing, and the website silver-investor.com. That's silver with a dash, investor.com. Good morning, David.
Good, Claire. It's great to be with you.
It's always a pleasure. It's been a while since we've talked, but I try to follow some of what you're doing, and you've been very busy. You do keep people informed on the silver markets.
Yeah, it's almost an understatement. From the time that silver made the breakout at about the $20 level, so around August, September of last year, and made an 80% run, went all the way up to almost $50, and then obviously it's backed off in the last several weeks. Busy got to busier to almost impossible. I say that laughing because lots of people came into the silver market during that up move, and I got a lot more exposure in the mainstream. I've been on Fox Business a few times now. CNN has had me on a couple of times. I was actually interviewed by Bloomberg when I was in Hong Kong at the Mines and Money. So certainly I'm not a well-known face in the mainstream financial media, but at least I've broken through somewhat. Well,
and rightly so, because I think if you look at your track record, you know, we think of some of the great investors of all time, and somebody would probably say, oh, Warren Buffett in our age comes up as a name of respect there. But when it comes to silver, I think you know a heck of a lot more than Warren ever could imagine knowing.
Well, thank you for the compliment. It's interesting that you say that. I've never had a conversation with Warren Buffett. I've read their annual reports a few times. And, of course, many people that have followed the silver market closely know that Warren Buffett purchased silver through the late 90s and disclosed it in early 2000 and bought it probably in the $5 or under $5 range, bought about 25% of the world's silver supply, almost 130 million ounces physically. And the price shot up on that announcement from around the $5.50 level all the way to $8 and change, and it backed off pretty quickly. And then he reported selling it after it got to around the $9 level or so, which is really interesting. On top of that, unless you're a really deep silver student, you wouldn't know, but he actually had done something similar years before, and I don't even have it on the members part of the website anymore, but for a long time, from like 12 years ago, I put out a special Buffett report, and in that report I talked about Warren Buffett, through an entity, was going to exercise options that were slightly out of the money, which of course is legal. I mean, if you want to, if someone offers a car for $3,800 and you say, I'll give you $4,000 for it, I mean, you could, overpay if you wish. Same thing in the options market. If silver strike price was the strike price was $5.50, silver settles for $5.42, you still have the right to exercise that option, even though you're paying an additional 8 cents per ounce. I don't remember the exact numbers, but basically he kind of got talked out of that move. But I think the important part of that Warren Buffett report that I wrote so many years ago was the different stance or thinking about money that Warren Buffett himself has versus his father, who was a senator. Warren's father was very much an advocate of honest money and the problems associated with the fiat monetary system. And Warren, from the best I can say, and I really don't know how he thinks. I've read a great deal about him. I've studied his philosophy. I've heard him. I've watched him. But, and this is opinion, so make it clear it's my opinion, but he has a much different attitude about money, gold and silver, than I do. His idea, and a lot of them I agree with. I mean, money being invested wisely, long-term capital structures, get a return on investment, a lot of those things. But the foundation is rotting away, which it is, and the monetary system, the total monetary system, is in a state of growing chaos. Then it really doesn't matter as much what kind of a business you're in or are not in, because at the foundation of the basic structure of the entire system globally is in such decay that you can't really forecast, the next quarter's earnings, next year's earnings, the growth profile, or what labor costs, material costs, or anything else, which is the state we're basically in right now. Then certainly you got to go back to the root cause, and for me, that's the monetary system itself, and what is stable, sound money all about, and what is an unstable, unsound, unprincipled monetary system all about.
I certainly want to get into the idea of the monetary system and the decay that we are seeing in that system. But before we get there, you said something, and I think it's important enough for us to touch on it. You mentioned that when Buffett was buying, he got about 20% of the market, about 130 million ounces. Let's talk about the physical market of silver, because it is, and it's perhaps surprising for many people, it's a tiny market.
Absolutely. And I want to be very clear. Once in a while, it seems that, not that I misspeak, because I'm pretty accurate, and I try to be very clear, but, when you have a new concept or someone's hearing about it for the first time, or they've read someone else or whatever, not that I'm the ultimate authority, some people think I might be, but regardless, a fact is a fact, whether it comes from me or someone else, and an opinion is an opinion. And, of course, everyone's entitled to their opinions, but we have to, you can't, turn an opinion into a fact, and it seems that more and more on the Internet you're seeing that, not only in the precious metals but other areas as well. Coming back on point, Sinclair, the physical silver market in bullion form, in other words, what you could deliver into the LBMA, the London Bullion Management Association, or the CME, the Commodities Mercantile Exchange, better known as the COMEX. In either one of those entities, we're talking about 1,000-ounce bars that are investment grade of 999 fine. That market is much, 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 much smaller than the gold market in the same form. In other words, any deliverable LBMA gold bar or CME deliverable gold bar is a much bigger quantity than the silver market. The silver market currently, in the form of commercial-grade bars, is roughly 1 billion ounces, probably less than that. But what we can account for in the public domain, and we can absolutely point to as a fact, although there's some subtleties there that we might question, regardless, we're looking at less than 800 million ounces. On the gold side, we're looking at least double to triple that amount. So it is a small market. It's an extremely small market. For gold to move about $5, $6 is equivalent to buying the entire silver market. So that shows you how small the silver market really is. I remember doing a show with Pat years ago, and I know a lot of these listeners are very faithful to Pat, and I'm glad that you're doing the show for Pat. I also want to give my thoughts on Pat as being one of the good guys that I have met in this business, and he was one of the first to recognize my work and invite me to speak there at the Wealth Protection Conference. Mm-hmm. Coming back on point, you look at the ability of people in buying silver versus the gold market, and since it is so tiny, you get all kinds of volatility, and that, of course, scares people off. And that, I think, is part of the plot when you see some of this massive sell-offs that occur in the paper markets from time to time. Nothing has changed fundamentally in the silver market. So the size is extremely small. Pat had asked me to come up with an idea that would show how small the silver market was. I said, okay, Pat, here it is. Now, at the time, Microsoft did not offer a dividend. They have since. So this is going years back. I said, Pat, if Microsoft offered a 1-cent dividend per share, that amount of money would buy up the silver market 2 times over. So that shows you the kind. I'm not saying Microsoft is a small company. Obviously, it's not. But a penny a share is not a huge dividend relative to the stock price. And that money at that time would have bought the silver market 2 times over. So that another example of how small the silver market is.
And if you look at the silver market, it would probably be safe to say that it is an individual investor market much more so than an institutional investor market, which would probably be how you might consider the gold market.
Exactly. I mean, and a fact is a fact. I mean, if you are a large institutional investor and you need to work with, billions, I mean, the silver market's really too small for you to get into. I mean, that's, Buffett did it, and he did it when he could do it. He did it the way a professional does it and accumulated over time very stealthily. He did it very quietly. But gold preserves your wealth. That's gold's main function, and it's done that job very, very well. But silver, I think, and so far it looks like I'm somewhat correct, can make you wealthy. And the reason I say that with some authority is that the gold bull market started in 2000. The silver bull market really didn't start until September 2003. And the ratio at that time was 80-1. So it took 80 ounces of silver to buy 1 ounce of gold. Now it's roughly half that. So even though gold has been a perma-bull market, of course there's been ups and downs, but if you look at the overall chart, it's the main take is it's been up, and away. And you've done from 252 up to 1,500. So if you put, your money in the gold at the bottom, you would have done extremely well. If you would have put the same amount of money in the silver market at the bottom, you would have done twice as well. Now, having said that, I want to be very clear that I don't really advocate that anyone ride the silver bull alone. In other words, that you invest just in silver. I believe in both precious metals, but they serve a good function in a precious metals portfolio. It's like someone that buys some of the blue chips on the Dow and then sweetens up their portfolio with some NASDAQ stocks. The NASDAQ stocks in the heyday have a much higher beta. They're much more volatile, but they have much more potential to make you capital gains. And it's the same way with the silver market. But again, we got to be fair, and a fact is a fact. Silver's outperformed gold roughly on a 2-to-1 basis in this major bull market. The ride, however, has been extremely difficult at times because this silver market is so small that the moves up and down can scare a lot of investors out, and I'm sure it has. There are people out there that probably went through the financial debacle in 2008 with their stocks, and maybe some silver investors that watched silver go from 21 down to under 9 temporarily, that said, that's it, I can't take it anymore, may never come back to the silver market. On the other hand, crisis gives opportunity. I was pounding the table on my website telling people, believe it or not, you've got a gift here. This is an opportunity you cannot miss. Please, 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 either get back in, or if you're new, please get into the silver market. And had you done that in November of 2008, so just a few short years to 2011, I mean, you could have made 5 times on your money.
That volatility in the silver market can indeed be an individual investor's friend. But also that volatility, I'd like to find out how much of that is, and this is a long-standing area in the silver market, how much of it really is manipulation. We're talking with David Morgan. He is the man when it comes to silver. We will continue with his conversations in just a moment.
This is Hard Money Watch with Pat Gorman on Money Radio 1510.